How you guys doing today? I hope everyone's having a good one. Today we're doing the Altair from Canyon Keys, by the way. I have a feeling I'm gonna really like this. I think there are some good points to this board, and I'm excited to try something a little different because, you know, we really don't do split keyboards here on this channel. And I have a feeling with the stuff that's kind of implemented in this board, we have a pretty unique gasketing system. The build looks extremely easy. And then I think just the overall aesthetic of this, you know, it's an AIO3 board, so very pretty. I think we're really gonna like this today, but we're still gonna go over it because this is, it's a more, actually, you know what? I would even consider this not to be a crazy expensive project. I believe it retails, or it's gonna start at $315 if I'm getting that price right off the top of my head. Let me double check, just so I'm not lying to you guys. Yeah, $315 for this one, and if you guys want the smaller 4-row split Ergo, it's $300 for that one there. And it does come in, I think, 3 colors only. Rose gold, E-white, and dark gray. So each PCB is gonna have their own MCU. We'll kind of touch on that first, because there's a lot of stuff going on with this release. So each PCB is gonna have their own MCU, which you can see here, and then the other PCB is still in the bubble wrap. Let me take that out. Meaning, you don't need to actually plug them together. You can just have them operate independently, which might be good for me because I am very low on space. My gaming desk is this big. Like, I am not even kidding. It is around this big. And even with the 60, it's really cramped. And I never really use the whole keyboard. So I was considering just getting one of these for my gaming desk and then having a lot more mouse space. The other thing is this is gonna be hot swap with no stabilizers. I believe there's 0 stabs on this. So this is gonna be extremely easy to assemble. It's also a 1-piece aluminum shell for this too, other than the weight. I guess it's considered 2-piece because of the weight, but we'll just call it a 1-piece for simplicity's sake here. So everything just goes nicely in the keyboard shell, which I think is actually really neat. I think this is gonna be, again, I haven't built one myself yet. We're doing that today, clearly. This is probably gonna be very easy to assemble. Aesthetically, this board is actually pretty nice as well. We have a little blocker over here, well, a little separator or whatever you wanna call this, little groove over here. And then a lot of curves going on with this too, which that's probably why they went with the 1-piece, so they can do a lot more without having to do 2 separate pieces on this. And then we have a little curve here on the rear of the keyboard, so it has a bit of a side profile too, which is nice, and kind of mimics that curve here as well with just a little indentation here. What's really nice about this is this gradual curve. This reminds me a bit of the Andromeda here on the back. AIO3 seems to be really into these kind of gradual fade-offs over here, which I think is gorgeous. We have the AIO3 logo, which you guys can see. My camera wants to focus. We have some recessed USB-C ports. They're pretty spacious, which is nice, because again, this is gonna take a lot of USB-Cs. You know, you're gonna have to have one connecting the two if you decide to go that, and then potentially one from this end or from this end. So it is nice that they made these a bit more spacious, which should allow, we'll test it afterwards, some of the thicker USB-C heads over here to kind of fit in. And then we have the weight, which is nice. It's pretty simple. Although I think my only gripe with this is I don't know why it has to say Altair on both weights. Like I get that if you want to use one, but it just seems a little redundant to do it on both. I would have maybe liked Altair and then some sort of logo on the other one. I always nitpick on stuff like this though. I don't know why that is. And then you got some steps in the weight as well, which looks nice. So this is also gonna have a unique PCB gasket mounting system. This is what I'm most interested in because again, I'm not too keen on split keyboards myself, especially because this is a totally different layout than I'm used to. I still kind of want one though. So it's gonna have a very different gasketing system where we'll kind of build it up and I'll show you guys. It's gonna be interesting. I think the whole thing is gonna be quite neat. And again, 2 separate MCUs. You can just have one working if you only want one, which is, I think, is super cool as well. But this keyboard's been, the making of this keyboard, I mean, it's interesting. I should link you guys the page. Actually, it is, the page is there. It's interesting. You can read about the whole design timeline and just, I guess, process from start to finish with this board. This seems to be a very much a passion project or a labor of love from AIO3, but I'm very excited. I'm very, very, very excited. Also, very excited for the front height of this keyboard. So for anyone who knows, maybe is new to my channel, front height of the keyboard matters a lot to me Anything below 20 millimeters is comfortable. The lower, obviously, up to a certain point becomes really comfortable. This will have, with a little bit of a, you know, what's going on here, because it does slope down a smidge, 16.7 millimeters. So 16.7 millimeters with a 7-degree incline. Pretty nice. Pretty nice. And now this is the only part that I'm not 100% sure on. So I've tried to do as much homework as I could on this board, but I am not too sure the cost of some of the add-ons. I don't know if those are still being thought of. I didn't really get an answer for that one there. So I don't know how much extra plates are going to be. I don't know how much the wooden rests are going to be. I don't have all the answers to that. But yeah, it's a long journey. I encourage you guys to read about the journey as well. It's like a 5-year process of different iterations and tons of stuff. I'm actually pretty excited to build this. It's probably one of the only split keyboards that I'll have. Maybe one more coming up in the future. But split keyboards, again, usually aren't my thing, especially just because I'm not a great typist to begin with. I like keyboards for different things. Polycarbonate plate. Now, Canon Key sent over some switches to use. By the way, I'm not keeping this, just so everyone was aware. This is just me taking a look at it. I'm not going to use either one of these. I believe these are Gateron Mink switches or some variation of them, and these are the Anubis switches. I'm not going to use either one. We're going to finally use the deeping switches. I've also been told this keyboard sounds phenomenal. So we'll see. So we have our daughter boards here. They do have ribbon cables, which is a bit annoying, but whatever. And we have lots of foams, which I'm going to be honest, I don't think I'm going to be using any of the foams, but we shall see. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the gasket system. This is interesting to me. So this is a play on what almost kind of feels like a very uniform gasket system. So I don't know if you guys can see this. You can see it, nice to see it with the reflection here of the light. The gaskets all sit on the bottom of the PCB, which is interesting. I've never seen that before in a keyboard. I've seen similar stuff where we use, you know, like the Salvation and the Class 60 where they have leaf springs, but interesting. Now, they're saying this is gonna help reduce some of the vibrations. We'll see, but interesting nonetheless. I think that's gonna be very, very cool. I guess my only small gripe with this entire keyboard is probably gonna be these ribbon cables. These little ribbon cables over here are probably not gonna be my cup of tea. I am not like too keen on the ribbon cables here. You can see, look how tiny these things are. Look how small these ribbon cables are. I mean, like, there's enough room in the shell of the case that I feel like you can just route a JST connector. I think I would have preferred just standard JSTs. I know this is gonna have a smaller portion here at the bottom to kind of take a look at, you know, because it is gonna sit quite flush to the bottom of the case, because these gaskets don't exactly hit, you know, a certain height, which probably does help a lot with the overall front height of this keyboard. But there seems to be enough milling here, because it's kind of stepped up over here a little bit, as you can see, where perhaps they could have just milled it a little bit deeper. That might be my only like major criticisms, but we'll play around with it. We'll see how we feel. And we're gonna use Gateron deeping switches. These are the pre-lubed ones. I had to open these all up and basically move around the lube on the majority of these, by the way. If you guys are interested in the Gateron deeping switches, to be very critical, I really probably don't recommend the pre-lubed ones. They're way too inconsistent, and oh my God, some of them were drowning in lubricant. We did show these off, like I opened a few of them up on stream a few days ago. I didn't clean them, I just moved around the lube, basically. They seem like they're gonna be awesome switches, but I really wish I had picked these up on lube. But yeah, my idea is to have this as like a little gaming pad. I think this would be perfect for that. Absolutely perfect for it. I don't know, at 300 bucks, honestly, I don't think this is a total, I wouldn't even say it even comes close to a ripoff. It's a very niche project. I mean, on the case itself, it's aluminum, you get a good finish on it, you have a nice brass weight here on the bottom. It's an AIO3 design, you got an AIO3 PCB. We double checked that actually. We have an AIO3 PCB, so we have some quality stuff here. Sorry, you know what? I should have explained this, and I apologize, client. This is called a plate fork. So we're using a softer polycarbonate plate today. And if I were to not have a plate fork, sometimes the polycarbonate, because depending on tolerances of switches, will get pushed down, and it's just kind of hard to pop in switches. This allows you to kind of slide through. It's the exact width you need. It slides through basically and supports the plate. So when you push in a switch, the plate doesn't go with it. All right, I guess let's start putting this together now. Hold on, I kind of want to get my little air compressor and blow out some of this. Actually, you know, does it really matter? No, it matters to me. All right, so we're gonna take out all these screws. I'm a little concerned about this because I've seen how screws can add a little bit of vibration, although maybe not in this case. This is basically to align things. We're gonna take out all the screws here. All right, let's put some of these daughter boards in. So I think these just leave flipped like that, but we do need to put the ribbon cable in first. So there's a little flip that unlocks this. Now, this just goes in this way. I think that's all this is. This is not terrible to put in, but I can still see this being frustrated to someone who might have a little bit of a issue with doing stuff like this. And then it sits like this. I understand why they put it here though. Just so everyone's aware, like I get why there's ribbon cable. It might be a tolerance thing because of how low these gaskets are. I understand it. I'm not knocking the ribbon cables. I usually never do. I think they're frustrating to work with for sure. There are some times where I don't understand why ribbon cables were used, but in most cases that I've seen ribbon cables get used, not all, but most, it's like there's always a workaround you can do. I'm actually one of those people who have really shaky hands, so this is always a little bit tricky and difficult for me as well. So I do struggle with this a little bit. Let's just... All right, so now we gotta screw in the screws here. And did I do this incorrect? Hold on, I might have done this incorrect. Yeah, I do think I did this incorrectly. Okay, I think we need to take out the switches. So it looks like the switches or the screws actually get put underneath, or I guess in between. Actually, will I need to take out all the switches? Perhaps let's just do that. All right, so is the idea here I gotta put down the screws first? Screws first, then we put in the plate and PCB and stuff. And I guess that kind of acts as a little bit of a standoff as well. Oh, it's kind of interesting of a double use case. It does act as a little bit of a standoff for the plate as well as a way to screw in the keyboard. Interesting. Very, very interesting. So maybe we don't even need the plate fork. Quick little fix here. Yep, we got it. So it does actually work with these thicker connectors as well. Perfect. That's good to know. All right, so we got one assembled now. Let's take out the switches of this guy and redo it since we need to put the screws in first, it seems. All right, let's take out our switches quickly and then we'll stick all of them back in here. So again, this is using gaskets put on the bottom of a PCB to kind of go back to the keyboard. Okay, so I do see it move a little bit. So there is some, you can see where the screw is with the PC plate. There is some movement happening with this. Interesting, very interesting. I wonder how this is gonna feel. I wonder how this is gonna feel. Do I use these keycaps that they sent? Or should I just get something different? Because they have, on the bottom of that web page, they have the Altair keycaps, which these are not. Because what's cool about this, which I really appreciate, I don't know if you guys like PBT at all, but if you guys end up buying this, so this is the $315 version, you can get a $30 add-on a keycap set from Nice PBT. Like it's an add-on you can put onto this for an extra 30 bucks. These are not it. If you guys want to see what that looks like, it's near the bottom-ish. Actually, not really the bottom. It's near the top of the webpage, but nice little addition from Canon Keys there. And it's actually only $27 as an add-on if you get the Altair X, which makes sense because you're not using as many keys. I'm 100% buying one. Def considering. I'm also considering. It's weird because I probably wouldn't normally pick this up. I think this is something that I'm only considering because I like the way it looks. And I like the fact that you can, I think this is the best selling feature of it. They operate independently if you want. I think that's like the biggest feature. This looks cool. Yeah, I agree. This looks it's pretty dope. It's pretty interesting looking. Okay, thankfully, I appreciate this about this keyboard. It does have a little bit of a nicer, a little bit wider open cable port here on the back. So it can still work with these chunkier cables, which is very, very, very nice. I really appreciate that. Oh, this is cool, actually. This is super dope. I'm kind of vibing with this. Wait, so you have to connect the 2 ports with a cable, then plug it in to connect it to the PC? Correct. Or, alternatively, I don't know why you'd want to do this, but you can technically plug in both keyboards separately. I don't know why you'd want to do that, though. But I think you would want to I think it comes with a cable anyways. You'd probably want to use something a little bit shorter than this. This seems like a lot of extra cable. Cool. We're using deepening switches for this. I guess let's see how this sounds in the Altair. So this has a again, to kind of go over some quick notes about the keyboard, in case you're just tuning in, this has a unique mounting style. The gaskets are actually sitting on the bottom of the PCB, and then everything's aligned with screws. It's a one-piece case design. I do think this is quite pretty as well. It has some brass weights here on the bottom. As you guys can kind of see here. Kind of gives me a bit of an Andromeda kind of feel with this big curve here on the butt. Quite nice. Surprising sound profile already from the alphas. I'm guessing this would be comfortable for a spacebar right over here. I don't know if you'd want to reach for this one. For me, anyways. I'm just clicking random keys right now because you really need to kind of figure out what you want to do here for layouts and all that. This is comfortable though. Like, I think I can easily play video games on this nicely. There's no spacebar to talk about at all here, so there's going to be no modifier sound profiles. It's just going to be alphas everywhere, technically. It does sound good for the alphas. It feels really good too. It has a bit of a bounce to it. Absorbs shock nicely. They did a good balancing between putting the screws into the bottom and then not having it reverberate the plate and including the gaskets. I know that's something Mode couldn't quite get right on the Envoy. You kind of had to get rid of the screws or half twist them in only. I mean, the alphas sound really good. Yeah, I would really need to get used to this. Such a different layout. Again, it's going to be a bit more niche. I'm happy that they came out with this though, because I think there are going to be lots of people who are probably going to be interested in this. I mean, there's a few people in chat we saw as well. It looks like they have these binded to space bars, but at the current point of me plugging this in, everything seemed to be shifted over one layout wise. I'd have to go in and rebind things. Price wise is going to be not too bad for entry level over here. It starts at $300 for the 3-row, or I guess 4-row technically, including the bottom. And then this particular one is the Altair, so this is 5-row. This starts at $315. Fun. Again, I think the 2 biggest selling points of this keyboard, the 2 biggest selling points are is if I wanted to, I can use them as independent keyboards, hence the 2 MCUs. I think that's the biggest draw to this keyboard. I know they're pretty as well. You know, you get this beautiful, again, very Andromeda inspired in my opinion. Biggest draw for me is I can use these separately. You know, effectively you're kind of getting 2 keyboards in a lot of ways. Yeah, you can technically just plug one in over here, maybe keep it as a macro pad or something. Maybe bring this to another room if you wanted to. Or just combine them because they have the way to kind of daisy chain them together as well. Fun. I appreciate this. Again, the only thing I think maybe I'd like to see changed a little schmidge. It's such a minor thing and I don't even know if you really need to in this case, is those cables on the inside. So the ribbon cables, I know why they're there. We already talked about it, but yeah, this could be really great too for people who want to sit more naturally. So when we normally type on a keyboard, you know, we have to bring our wrists in like this sometimes. With this, you can kind of position them to be a little bit more natural and type with your arms not pronating inwards, which could help as well. Ergonomics to some stuff if you find like maybe a regular keyboard really bothers you. If you think this is just a macro pad, you're thinking too small, to be honest. I actually agree with that. I think there's a lot of use case potential for this. I think there is a lot of things you can end up doing with this. A lot. And I have a feeling this, if I'm gonna predict something, this is probably gonna not like, I don't think people are gonna see this and immediately go run to buy it. I hope people do, because I think this is a really dope project. I think there's a lot of love that went into this. And then also, if you guys want, it does come with foams. I don't think, do you guys think this needs foams? I don't think so. Nah, these definitely, I mean, you can always use these as modifiers if you end up choosing to do so. Great job. I think AO3 nailed it with this. There's the side profile if you guys wanted to see again. In case you guys wanted to see it one last time here, here's how the keyboard looks. Side profiles of it. Oh, come on, camera, stop shaking. It's a nice looking board. I think, again, they really knocked it out of the park with this. Very, very, very pretty. All right, this was fun looking at this. Very different from what we normally get. Very, very different here. So I'm very happy that we got to look at this today. I think that this is a phenomenal, cool, almost niche, but it's a niche within a niche, really. It's a cool project though. I would say there's not a whole lot that I don't like about this. I think this sounds good. Obviously, this has a particular layout that you're gonna hate or love. It's gonna take some getting used to. You have to be realistic in that sense. It's a pretty looking keyboard with a good front height to it. Good overall design. It's clearly been thoughtfully tested as well by AO3. I would say this is pretty much an approved buy for 315 bucks. I mean, it's not bad. You're getting, again, brass weights in this, good visual design. It's not just a basic kind of, rectangle in this kind of sense. I would say this is, if you guys want to use flamingos, flamingo approved, okay? All right though, guys. Bye everybody. Love you and see you very, very, very soon. See you guys.